Welcome back to the Painted City and back into our conversation. Here's your host, Paula and
Patricia.
And today we're going to talk about the Call of the Woods, and we're going to have our very own Quiet Rebel speak about her own journey. So thank you for coming back. So one of the things that we have been talking about in our intern is kind of about synchronicity, signs, things that pull us into the wild or into our own paths and journey. Patricia here has actually made, and it was a work of labor, the Quiet Rebel deck. And I'm going to have her speak a little bit about that.
Hi. Yes, I did. Thank you, Paula. It is. It's called the Quiet Rebel. And for those of you that don't know about it, it is a deck of affirmation cards with original artwork, my own artwork on it, with quotes from people that I admire, whether they're artists, literary people, past and present, and a few that are my own quotes as well. And it is a labor of love. I mean, it took over 2 years. I think 2 years is like my benchmark for making things come to fruition. And it finally happened. I created these decks, and they come in a card box. I call them spiritual but not witchy, because some people are asking, are they tarot cards? They're not. They're affirmation cards, and you pick a card a day with a quote that should enlighten or maybe make you happy for that moment. And sometimes they are serendipitous. They land right at the moment that you need to hear that quote or affirmation.
Yeah, and if you look at our Instagram page, you will actually see when I did my road trip, every morning I actually pulled the Quiet Rebel card and I picked it and showed it in different locations and what it was for me, my own meditation or my thought or something when I was on my journey into the woods, kind of something for me to chew on or think about or actually open my eyes and notice for the trip.
Thank you for doing that. And it was so beautiful to, I would say, travel vicariously with you on that trip that you did, that beautiful Route 66 trip. I've also had other friends take their Quiet Rebel deck to Switzerland, to Italy, to, gosh, all over the country, to even Indiana, within the States, to the beach, anywhere. It doesn't matter, near or far. They did land in some pretty cool places, and I'm really grateful for them.
So I challenge any of you that might have Quiet Rebel cards, take a picture of your Quiet Rebel wherever you are, even in your own living room or your own backyard, and tag us. So a little bit about the cards. I know that I was glad to be kind of a backseat passenger on this journey. I remember when you told me about your call to want to develop these cards and how you kind of pulled together, picking art, picking quote, picking those things that call to you for each of the cards. So tell me a little bit, or bring them in the conversation and tell a little bit about what that was like for you in this process of taking them from, that mindset goal into actually something tangible that we're holding in our hands right now.
Right. Well, I'm just this crazy person who loves quotes, sayings, anything. I'm a wordsmith, I would say. And I just had a database of quotes that I loved. I have books on quotes, files on quotes, on my computer, in journals. And I said, I have to do something with these. And do I write a book? Everyone wants to write a book, right? But I said, why don't I just start with something simple? When I say simple, it really wasn't that simple. Where I just took quotes. I had the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Artwork was easy. So I have to really do a big shout out to my friend, my talented and creative friend, Cheryl Cuellar of Cuellar Creative. She's a graphic designer, and she really helped so much in putting this together for me graphically. And we spent a good chunk of time just pulling artwork that would match the quote. And each quote, I must say, is significant to the artwork on the card.
Now, let me add in a minute. She did say that the artwork was easy, and I want you all to know it was easy because she had this whole group of art already done. When we talk about being a working artist, having a base bit of work behind us so that we could pull from if the opportunity shows up, if someone's like, hey, I need a piece here, or we need a body of work. So when she says easy, I want you to know, especially any of us that know Patricia, it wasn't necessarily easy. She just had this body of work that she could already pull from. I want to make sure she gives herself credit for everything she does because
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And you're right, Paula. And I think I've instilled that not only in myself, I had to tell myself, you need a body of work because last minute somebody's going to say, hey, somebody pulled out of an art exhibit. Can you fill in? We say yes without really knowing if we indeed have 10 ready pieces of artwork. I know you're one of those. You are a warrior at that. I've asked you how many times, Paula, I need 4 pieces of work, cohesive. Do you have it? And sometimes you may or may not, and you'll be like, I'm running to the studio. I'm painting it now, Patricia. I'm delivering it. It's still wet. The life of an artist, we say. Right?
not still wet, but I mean,
almost
freshly varnished.
Freshly varnished. There you go.
I'm like, it still will give you fumes. Open the window, but it's done. It's here. It's on time.
Yeah. Handle with care, right?
Yes, handle with care. Roll down the windows. Point for all of us last minute people. Roll down the windows when you're driving the art that is freshly drying from varnish.
Oh, that's so funny. But
it's true.
It's true. It's true.
I mean,
we navigate, we pivot very, how would we say, on the run, on the cuff.
One of my favorite sayings, the guy who did The Horse Whisperer, his name is Buck. He has a documentary. And I think I've said this to you before. He has this phrase that he says, blessed be the flexible, for we never get bent out of shape. And that's something I remind myself. And I think that when we say pivot, I have to find flexibility. I need to make sure that I find a way to bend on my own journey. When you call, I have to say, can I bend here? Or do I have to kind of protect my yes and say, I would love to, Patricia, but I can't get anything to you by tomorrow.
Right. And then I say, well, when? How about the day after? Or can I come pick it up for you? Anything to help. And that's where I want to say that being an artist, I think we have to be so open to helping our fellow artists.
Of course.
Yeah.
We're a community.
We really are. And I'm so grateful for that. For all of you listeners out there that, you've been in an art exhibit with us, large or small, that you've always been there for us. And we appreciate everything that you've done to be part of this great community here in Central Florida.
I mean, even showing up, when you show up or say hi or just walk by and look at our art. I've thanked people when all of a sudden I've seen someone who took a picture with my art in the background.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about like the synchronicity. When do we see the signs? When do we meet other people? How do we meet them? And being open to opportunity. And, for the Quiet Rebel cards, like I really love them because you've taken something artistic that is something you love, or like we love. I mean, if you talk to Patricia and I, we talk a lot about quotes and what we've read and inspiring words, but you've taken your art on a journey with partially your words, but other words, and then you've turned them into a different thing when we talk about the spiritualist cards and the side of it. So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you set up like the morning meditations or when you do readings with your cards, when you meet people, or if you show up at the studio and someone decides, I want a deck of your Quiet Rebels.
And thank you. That's a good question to segue into. When people have purchased the cards, they say, so what do I do with them? And it's you can do it any way you want, like a card a day, a card a week, a 3-card draw, however you want it. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, universe, God, angels, whatever you believe in, it really doesn't matter. Just say, today, what do I need to see or hear or feel. I fan out the cards and then I take one, and most of the times it's like, wow, that's the card that I really need to be seeing today. And it's uncanny how that card lands at the moment or the day that I actually need to hear that. And I've heard that from so many friends and kind people that have purchased the card. And can we talk about one of your favorite writers and literary goddesses that we both love? You actually inspired me to use this card in the deck.
And I so appreciate it. So I love Mary Oliver. I really love her devotionals. I love her poetry. I love poetry. I mean, I love all written word, but just poetry, and it speaks something to us. And one of my favorites is when she says, "Tell me, what is your plan to do with this one wild and precious life?" And if
Can you
you
read that again? Love that. I get chills.
right? Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. And for me, that just, it emanates everything. Like, what am I going to do when I get up in the morning? We have, but such a limited time here in this world. And what is it I want to do? What is it, you and I have talked about this. What is it I want to explore? And whether it takes a month or 2 years, like this podcast, it's about, what do I want to do? What do I want to explore? What do I want to grab on? What do I want to bite? What do I want to see? And that's for me why this was so poignant. And I will tell you, when I was like one of the first in line, I'm like, okay, give me my deck. Here's my money. When I actually was looking through the cards and I saw that, and you were with me, we were eating lunch, and I just had tears in my eyes that you put one of my favorite things, one of my guiding quotes on a card.
And of course, how could I forget that? And including you in this, because I feel like everyone has been on this journey with making this happen. And it was really a dream to fruition. So I'm really appreciative of this journey to make it happen. And some people have asked me, okay, so Quiet Revel, you're going to do another deck? So I was thinking, how about the Not So Quiet Rebel? These are a little bit tamer, I would say, right?
Well, I think these are tamer, and I think, we all have to start off with our comfortability. Sometimes we have to start off with what inspires us, but sometimes we have to actually speak out about what we need or about our journey. Like, I think your Quiet Rebel is about that inspiration, what all of this. But the Not So Quiet Rebel, I mean, especially with the way we see the world, how we want to speak out, how we want to advocate for ourselves, for other artists, and for everyone else in our community and world. Yeah, and hey, I'm in support of it. I'll pull some quotes for you right now for your Not So Quiet Rebel.
I'm sure you have some. On that note, would you like to draw one of the cards serendipitously, since we're talking about just things happening, just
all right,
plans?
Unplanned.
One is. What is that one?
Out of the clutter, find simplicity from discord. Find harmony in the middle of difficulty, lies opportunity. Albert Einstein.
Wow.
So before we move into our rapid fire round, I want you to know that I'm going to let her read about the card, and we'll have both of these two cards pictured on our social media. So follow the Painted City podcast on Instagram or Facebook. So you want to tell me a little bit about what inspired you to use that quote?
The Albert Einstein one?
Yeah.
Okay. Out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. I feel like in life, we all have some kind of clutter, right? Mm-hmm. In our mind, on our desk at work,
in our heart,
in our hearts, in our art studios, maybe in someone's car. Chaos, right? All of that. And then it's very metaphorical, right? Albert Einstein, he was an artist as well and a musician besides a scientist. So I feel that, how people say like the monkey brain, we have things in our mind that's clutter too. And I think those things really halt us from doing the greater good that we are meant to do in life. Whether you're a creative, you're a doctor, you're a postman, you're a student, you're a mom, you're a dad, anywhere. So I think we really have to clear that clutter from, like you said, from our heart and our mind and our souls. Then I said, from discord, find harmony. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. So from discord, find harmony. For me, that would be like, even if something feels so awful, like, why is this happening to me? Or why is this happening to her or him? I think you can find a little bit of peace. It's just, again, quieting the mind, taking deep breaths, just sit with it and don't let it sink you. Just let it kind of just dissipate. And I know it sounds easier than said, but
Well,
it takes practice to do that.
yeah, it takes practice. It takes finding a safe space. And, sometimes it takes chaos. I mean, sometimes
It does.
we talk about entropy. Sometimes we have to break down what was there so we could rebuild what we need to be.
And at the end, it says here, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. And isn't that the truth? When we think like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? I deserve this opportunity, or I really wanted this to happen and it's not happening. It's difficult. So I think everything was meant to be for you at that moment. It may not feel right at that moment, but at the end, I feel like everything works out. Not 100% always. We might have people that say, no, it doesn't always work out. I think following this path of staying intuitive, right?
Paying attention to signs.
And just being present. And I'm telling you, the whole deep breaths. I can't wait till we get some of our yogis and meditation gurus on board with us. But it helps so much with having my podcast host as a mental health therapist, as a social worker, because you have so much clarity to certain topics, and you are a calming force. I know you're laughing. If you know Paula, she's not always so calm, but she is. She's really a North Star and a guiding light for me and for so many.
Thank you. That means a lot. So I'm going to wipe the little tears away. So we have a guest here. We have Sir Charles here, and you'll be able to see his Instagram on our Instagram. And he is going to rapid fire ask us questions to try to keep us, one, with quick answers, two, with us being unprepared with the answers or the questions that are coming.
Yay, Charles. Cha-cha.
Yay, cha-cha-cha. All right.
Thank you for having me. All right, here we go. Favorite herb?
Peppermint.
Basil.
Last book you read?
I'm still reading it. The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin.
Ginsberg, Howe, Creative Poems.
Best dessert that is served hot?
Creme brulee. No. Baked Alaska.
Brownie. It's a brownie, a hot brownie.
Spring or autumn?
Autumn.
Okay, that's what I have for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming into part of our conversation. And, this week, pay attention to signs, and they're all around us. And I'll see you next time when we can continue this conversation with the Painted City with Patricia and myself.
Thank you. Until next time, have a creative week.
Bye.